Hi everyone. As I was doing research and gathering photos and graphics and everything for the IMAX Enhanced episode of Acoustically Speaking, I came across something that I wasn't all that aware of. Obviously, there are plenty of private theaters that are luxurious. You've seen a ton of theater tours on YouTube, I'm sure. But I'll have to admit, I wasn't all that aware that you can actually get an IMAX Private Theater. I mean, sure, IMAX has obviously allowed people to rent out their theaters, or just any old multiplex. It doesn't have to be IMAX, whatever. But I wasn't aware that IMAX themselves have this program that allows you to have an IMAX certified theater. I'm not talking about IMAX Enhanced. That's a completely different thing. IMAX Enhanced is the budget consumer version to get somewhat of an IMAX experience in your home, just having a regular receiver, TV, speakers, etc. But IMAX Private Home Theaters is a completely different thing. It is actual IMAX certified equipment and products with IMAX engineers and contractors building out an IMAX theater for your home theater setup. Because again, IMAX Enhanced, you can have a Denon receiver that is IMAX Enhanced. You can have Polk Reserve speakers that are IMAX Enhanced certified. You can have a Sony BRAVIA 7, 8, or 9, which is IMAX Enhanced. So you can have basically a cornucopia of different brands that are all IMAX Enhanced in your home theater. But when you get an IMAX Private Home Theater, everything is IMAX. IMAX projectors, IMAX screen, IMAX speakers, processors, amplifiers, calibration, everything. So is that going to be better than, say, a home theater that is built around a Trinoff system with per-listen speakers and subwoofers? I honestly don't know, but I just thought it was really cool that it even existed. So I just wanted to quickly go over the 3 different tiers, although there's a lot of overlap between the 3 tiers as far as what you get, as far as features and specs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the most expensive one first, which is the Platinum. Because let's be honest, I'm not doing this because this is going to be feasible for most of you. No, this is going to be out of reach for almost everyone watching this video. I just wanted to suspend our disbelief for just a few moments and just imagine that we all had enough money to be able to afford to do this. So yeah, again, I'm going to start with the most expensive, the IMAX Private Theater Platinum package. So this is the one I'm going to spend the most time on because I'm going to go over pretty much all the specs and features. And then with the lower tiers, I'm just going to highlight the differences. All right, let's hop on over to the brochure. Okay, with Platinum, you get not only a single, but dual 4K, 2D, 3D laser projectors. That's right, so in order to get the full immersive IMAX experience, not only does it mean 2D, but it also means 3D. That's why there are in fact dual 4K projectors. Advanced Image Super Enhancer, I can only imagine that means IMAX's version of MAD VR video processing perhaps. Immersive IMAX curved screen and movable frame. Proprietary IMAX sound system, quality equalizer and power amplifier, HD multimedia content server and player supporting HD television, Blu-ray, DVD, CD, gaming, and karaoke. Now, one thing I want to point out is with all the brochures and all the materials and articles that I've read in researching this topic, all of them say that. They all say HD. I can imagine that's just a blanket statement of high quality HD content. But I mean, nowadays, 2025, that must also account for movies and shows and streaming devices or something that are 4K compatible, just because you are getting a 4K projection system. It wouldn't make sense nowadays to have just an HD quality server or streamer or Blu-ray player, especially if you have a 4K projector. So just wanted to kind of point that out because I'm sure some of you are thinking the same thing I was, like, hold on a second, HD, that's it? So I can only imagine it's 4K. Like maybe they just need to update the brochure or something. All right, moving on. Touchscreen control pad with dedicated control system. And ×3 pairs of professional 3D glasses depending on how many seats you choose. The space requirement for the biggest, most expensive Platinum package is 860 at the minimum, all the way to 1,938 square feet. While researching this topic, I looked up the average size house here in California, and it's just below 1,800 square feet. So the fact that you can go up to 1,938 square feet just for a theater, wow. Yeah, obviously you're dealing with people with lots of room and probably going to build some sort of dedicated theater building on their property. So yeah, let's get into the specs just a little bit more. Projection system, dual projectors, like we said, projector alignment, automatic calibration, display resolution, native 4K, so 4096 by 2160. End-to-end 4K support, yes. See, now that makes me think that it is indeed 4K content when it says end-to-end 4K support. 3D format, left-right separation, frame packing, SBS top and bottom. So yeah, again, that's why you have dual laser projectors, so you can pull off native 3D. 3D, 2D switch, automatic 2D, 3D input detection, and 3D filter on off. Lamp life 1500 to 3000 hours. Pixel depth is 12-bit. Playback 4K 2D up to 24p, so 24 frames per second. Because again, this is meant to be cinema, so it's not exactly going to be the greatest thing for gaming, to be honest. 2K up to 60 frames, and 2K 3D also up to 60 frames. So yeah, this is purely for a cinema enthusiast, not exactly your hardcore gamer. 4K scaler, yes. Physical Blu-ray disc support, yes. Streaming video support, yes. Okay, so one thing to note is that it does say the screen aspect ratio is 1.896 to 1. In other words, that's pretty much 16 by 9. Like for example, the IMAX Enhanced versions of the MCU titles on Disney Plus, those are technically 1.9 to 1, which is basically what this is, 1.896 to 1. That's pretty much 1.9 to 1. So that's great for watching television and things that are presented in 16 by 9 aspect ratio. So yeah, if you're going to watch something that is 2.35 to 1, like ultra widescreen, you are going to have black bars on the top and the bottom. But me personally, I'm okay with that. That's fine. Screen material, silver micro perforated screen. Maximum screen size, 430 inches diagonal. HDMI input, 8 ways. It does support Dolby Digital Plus, Dolby True HD, Dolby Surround, and Dolby Atmos. And this is interesting. DTS-ES, DTS-96, 24, DTS HD Master Audio, and DTS-X are only supported via Blu-ray. So I'm guessing this HD multimedia content server and player, I'm guessing that's what you can access, streaming platforms on, and it only supports Dolby Atmos, apparently. Interesting indeed. Multi-channel PCM is also supported. And look, here you go. HDCP 2.2 compatibilities, yes. So it's not HDCP 2.3, which is kind of good because then it's more compatible with a lot more legacy things. Preamplifier analog output type is XLR. That's what I would expect from something like this. Power amplifier output, front channel / per channel, 700 watts times 3 plus 300 watts. I don't know what that plus 300 watts means. And the power amplifier output of the surround channels is 350 watts. Still, that's a lot for surround channels. Wow, that's cool. It even shows you the specs of the front channel loudspeakers. Frequency response 40 Hz to 20 kilohertz. Sensitivity of 95 decibels. Woo! That is sensitive. Wow, it even has the dispersion pattern, 80 degrees horizontal and 35 degrees vertical. Max SPL of 128 decibels continuous, 132 decibels peak. That's loud. And surround channels, frequency response 80 Hz to 20 kilohertz. That's interesting though. I thought it would be more like maybe 60 Hz to 20 kilohertz. Sensitivity 92 decibels. And dispersion pattern 80 degrees horizontal and 50 degrees vertical. Wow. Max SPL of 116 decibels continuous, 122 decibels peak. Subwoofer response down to 18 Hertz. Sensitivity 102 decibels. And max SPL 133 decibels continuous, 139 decibels peak. All right, as far as a control system, industrial grade central control computer. Wow, industrial grade. Control system, IMAX Private Theater proprietary control system. Controller, Android tablet. All right, remote monitoring and support. System status remote monitoring 24/7. Yes, working status monitoring of all key equipment, including projectors, speakers, central control server, etc. Because that's the other thing. If you're going to be paying top dollar for something like this, I do appreciate how they offer customer service and support on top of it. That it's just kind of baked into the price. Because I'm sure most people that are actually getting this done wouldn't have a clue how to troubleshoot it if anything goes wrong. Auto failure report, yes. Remote diagnosis, yes. Speaker work status auto detect, yes. Temperature and humidity monitoring, yes. Oh, interesting. Power system, PDU is included, UPS is included, and the power of the full system is 12,000 volts. All right, looking at this little diagram down here, I don't see any height speakers. And the front soundstage is mounted behind the screen, and it looks mounted pretty high, actually. Now, obviously, this is just a very basic diagram, but I also only see 2 subwoofers in the front also behind the screen. So yeah, it may just be a 7.2 system. Curious, again, if there's maybe an updated version of this where they now do height speakers. But at the same time, if you have several rows, that last row could be fairly close to the ceiling. So height speakers might not even be worth it or recommended. Room ceiling height 4 to 6 meters. Screen size minimum of 260 all the way to 480 inches diagonal. And seating capacity 20 all the way up to 60 standard IMAX Private Theater seats. Okay, and like I said, the prices are not listed. I mean, it still doesn't give you a price breakdown of if you were to go with the minimum size to the largest size. All it says is if you want to get the platinum version of this IMAX theater, it is going to cost you $1 million. Now again, does that mean starting at $1 million? So that's the smallest screen, least amount of seats you can get, and then it just goes up from there? Or does it mean $1 million for the 480-inch diagonal screen and 60 seats, and then it goes down from there? I can only imagine it starts at $1 million and goes up, just because everything is so expensive. But there you have it. The cream of the crop, platinum package, $1 million. Hooray for those who can actually afford that. And hey, maybe I can dream of the fact that maybe just putting this video out there, IMAX gets wind of it because all of a sudden they had a huge surge in demand for IMAX theaters to be built in private homes. And they want to do me a solid and return the favor and just build one for me for free. I mean, come on, IMAX. I'm not asking much. I don't need the 60-seat one. I'd be fine with, maybe 12 seats. So that way I could have my friends and family and, big movie nights or something. All right, let's move on to the next tier. And that next tier is the IMAX Private Theater Palays. I guess that's how you say it, Palays. So pretty much all the same stuff. Although I don't know if the dual 4K 2D/3D projectors, if that is like a step down version from the Platinum or if it is the exact same projectors, not sure. If you're watching IMAX, yeah, pretty much all the same stuff as the Platinum as far as the Blu-ray player media server. Although this particular brochure, for whatever reason, doesn't say HD. It just says media server, Blu-ray player. So I guess that's cool. Space requirement, 484 square feet to 753 square feet. So yeah, medium size. So yeah, the minimum 484 square feet. That's like a big living room. Okay. All of this information is pretty much the same, although like your throw ratios and stuff are a bit different because you're going to be dealing with a smaller screen and the projectors are going to be a little bit closer to the screen, of course, because it is a smaller theater. So that's really the only differences you're going to see in this section In this middle tier, a 240-inch screen is the maximum screen size possible. That's still really big. And it's also basically 16 by 9. Power amplifier output is still 700 watts per channel into 4 ohms, but it does say 360 watts into 8 ohms. So maybe you do get to choose between different speaker packages for this particular middle tier. Looks like the vertical dispersion pattern for the front speakers is much taller at 50 degrees. Yeah, same subwoofer specs. Yeah, all this stuff is pretty much the same. Okay, this little diagram down here looks exactly the same. So it really doesn't say all that much then, if this is exactly the same as the platinum diagram. 527 square feet, 6 seats. I'm guessing 2 rows with 3 seats in each row, with a screen size of 161 inches. And then beyond that, there you can choose 8 seats, 10, 14, up to 18, with screen sizes of 177, 201, 225, and 240 inches diagonal. So yeah, it looks like the middle tier, you're kind of limited to these different options. Whereas there's a lot more gray area in the platinum package, 20 to 60 seats and screen size that can go all the way up to 480, but maybe all kinds of variations in between. So that's probably what that $1 million gets you, is so many variations and options. But also doing research on this, the Palais will run you $400,000. Again, does that mean $400,000 is the extra small and it just goes up from there? Your guess is as good as mine. So let's jump into the final tier, the smallest of them. And that, my friends, is the IMAX Private Theater Prestige. Looks like you get all the same stuff, but the space requirement is 215 square feet to 430 square feet. All right, it looks like this package is the only one where you're going to get a downgrade in the speakers provided, because it looks like the power amplifier output per channel is 125 watts into 8 ohms and 165 watts into 6 ohms. So we're not dealing with that 700 watts into 4 ohms anymore. So I can only imagine that means it's because the speakers provided can't handle as much power. And also, front channel loudspeaker response, 75 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Doesn't go all the way down to 40 hertz like the other speakers. And the subwoofer response only goes down to 22 hertz, not 18. Interesting. So yeah, the actual physical dimensions of the speakers are smaller. And once again, it looks like you have to choose between 4 different size options. Number of seats, 3, 5, 7, or 9. And screen size, 130, 150, 165, up to 180. Okay, and lastly, this Prestige package, from what I found online, will run you $200,000. Now, does that mean the extra small 3-seat version is going to cost you $200,000 and then it goes up from there? Honestly, I sure hope not. 3 seats is not that big. I mean, yes, you're going to have like IMAX certified engineers and construction workers and whatever doing this and building this out for you. And you also have IMAX proprietary equipment in a rack that they are going to build for you. So that would really be disappointing if $200,000 was the starting point for a 3-seater where you get, what is it? 130-inch diagonal screen. I mean, you can get an AWOL UST projector that goes up to 150. I mean, yes, you are getting dual 4K projectors. So I sure hope $200,000 is more like the median price and more like $120,000 or $150,000 if you decide to go with the extra small Prestige package. Again, this is purely hypothetical because even if I had that kind of money, would I still spend it on a $150,000 IMAX private theater? I don't know. But I just wanted to have some fun, take you along going down this rabbit hole because, yeah, it exists. It's out there. So for those of you who can afford this, who can even get the platinum if they wanted, go for it. But if you do, please tell them that Elon Osborn sent you, because maybe I'll get a kickback of some sort, especially if they get so many people asking to have an IMAX private theater because of this video. A man can dream, so I'm just going to continue to do that, because that's all I can do, because I will never be able to afford it in this lifetime, most likely. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, because that's pretty much what it was. And if you're old enough to even get that reference, hooray. So there you have it. Just wanted to present that info to you. Hope you had fun like I did. Now let's all just have some fun and watch some good movies in our current theater, and just relish in the fact that we're not listening to crappy TV speakers. Haha. With that being said, this world is crazy as it is, so it only makes sense to be kind to one another, because you never know what somebody's going through. Don't just watch TV and movies, experience them, perhaps in an IMAX private theater. And of course, appreciate sound design.